So on today's video, as you can see, we're in Ableton and we're going to be looking at a few techniques you can use to beef up your drums. So let's get right into it. So I've taken a drum beat from the Patreon packs, which sounds like this. So it doesn't sound too bad already, but we're going to make it sound better. So the first thing we're going to do on this channel is add an EQ, and we're going to do that twice. In between the EQ, we're then going to go and add the saturator. We're going to add that in here. We're then going to highlight all three of these plugins, and we're going to press Command G in order to group them. We're then going to open up this, and you can see you've now got your group here, and here we're going to open up the macros, because we're going to be using macros in order to control these things. The first one we're going to do is we're going to set up this saturation section. So in order to do this, what I have to do here is set up a few parameters. So I'm going to go first of all to the first point on each of these EQs. I'm going to set this to like 140 on both of these EQs, I think. I want these to be identical in settings, and I'm going to go up to 84.8. And same on this one, I want it to be identical. And the idea here is to have one go down and one go up. They're both, as you can see, on a shelf. So we're going to leave that. We're not going to put it on a cut. We're going to use the shelf to do this. What we need to do now then is play with the gain. So it comes one down and one goes up. So in order to do this, I'm going to map these gains to macro 1, both of these. There's a few other things we want to map to macro 1 as well, and that includes the drive, and that includes the output here. We're also going to put the clip on, and this will avoid any type of clipping if we get the right sort of amount here. I reckon if we go to like sort of 12%, something like that. We'll check it when we play it all through and see how that works, and make sure we're not getting any clipping. So now let's set up this volume up and down. So in order to do this, right click on here and go to edit the macro map. There we go. And in here you can see your values. Put all these to 0. All of these to 0. There we go. So now this one we want to go down. So this one's going to go -5. So type in -5. And this one's going to go 5. So type in 5. And now when I move this macro, as you could already see it done it, but as I move this now, they're going to move. Okay, you can also see the distortion moving, but we want to set up a value for this. So I want the output of the distortion to go -2. So type -2, and then the actual drive, we're going to go like 9, we'll say 9.4 for example, like that. And now when we move this, you're going to get this happening like that. So this is the first stage. Let's make sure it's not clipping as well. So let's just open up the mixer and just have a look. What's the volume going to? So that means we can probably turn this down a bit, I think. So now we're getting to 0. So 6.2 seems good. We've got a little bit of headroom there as well, so that's perfect. So the next thing we're going to add to this chain is let's add a reverb. So let's come out of the editing mode for the minute here, and let's go for a hybrid reverb in this case. And we're going to put that here. So we want to basically play around with the K amount, probably around here somewhere. Dry and wet can be like probably about 50 or something. We'll check it out. We're just going to play this now and have a listen. So let's make sure this is down, and then this one over here. I'd say around there is quite cool. And then this wet is going to be another macro thing here. So let's right click and let's map this to macro 2. And then come over here, right click, rename, call this reverb. We got a reverb send, so we can add a little bit of reverb underneath as well, color it. The next thing we can add on this chain here is we can go and add a glue compressor. So let's go to the glue compressor and add this at the very end. We're going to control this once again with the wet and dry. So let's set the threshold. So once you're happy with that, you can then take this down and we can right click and we can map this to macro 3. And then when we come over here, we can rename this by right clicking and call this compression. So just comp will do. And we can color it as well and give this a green color, for example. So let's listen to our drums without the effect. Now with the effect. One thing to bear in mind and to notice here as well is if you come and look at the output, this is why I'm leaving this open here, you can see that we're not clipping, we're not going over 0. So if I take this off, what's the volume? It says -1. And then if I turn this on, you can see once again this is -0.49, so it's a tiny little bit louder, but it's still not clipping. But audibly, like, it's much louder, as you can hear to your ears, but we're not clipping. So this is kind of what we've created here by creating this little like sequence of processing here. So it's quite nice for your drums. You can really beef it up, and I've got it on the extreme at the moment, obviously, so I can bring this down a bit. So what I've gone ahead and done is I've also put some sounds from this free sample pack, which is coming very shortly. They're mostly bass hits that I've put in here, so I've just taken some of the bass hits from the pack and a little sound, just to give you an idea of how this all sounds together. They're all good to go, just drop in. You could obviously chop them, change them, and add extra effects to them, whatever you want to do as well, but this is how they sound straight out of the pack. Let's have a listen to it.